Oh, that sound. Oh, it always makes me feel so good. Welcome to the totally impromptu Purple Positivity podcast that I am recording on January the 5th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my kitchen table in my, for now, house, which I call Thistledew. So, if you've listened to the other 5 episodes that I posted, you should hopefully have realized by now I don't really plan podcasts. I don't. And especially, if you listen to the Purple Lit Nerd podcast, the most I do is I record, or I make an outline of, okay, I want to talk about this, and so here are the points that I want to make with this, and here's some information, so I make a list, and I make an outline of what I want to talk about with regards to that particular episode. When it comes to this, I completely go off the cuff. But I call this an impromptu and unplanned episode of the Purple Positivity podcast, because, I hadn't intended on recording this. I didn't. I recorded those 5 episodes, and I even sort of wasn't sure how I was going to go about posting at that time as I was recording those episodes. But then after I finished, I went, you know what? I'm going to post 4 to 5 episodes every single month, first Monday of the month, and then... And it'll be an experiment. It'll make my life easier because, I record all these episodes at once, post them all at once, and then I can, have room and whatever for my Purple Lit Nerd podcast, which I will post weekly. But after what happened today, I said, you know what? I can't wait a month to talk about this. Because, well, there's 2 reasons. Number 1 is that I am assuming that people are actually listening to this and are on pins and needles wanting to know what the hell is going on in my life. Number 2 is because hearing the theme song actually kind of brings up some mixed feelings, because on the one hand, I'm really proud of the wording and the fact that I recorded it and I put it on my little sounding board thing here in the app, and so there's a certain amount of pride that I feel with it. But if you've ever listened to the sound of your own voice singing, there's always a moment where you're like, ugh. Whether that's throughout the whole song or just kind of in the beginning or somewhere in the middle, and you're just like, ah. So I have mixed feelings about hearing that sound, but especially the round of applause that I do at the end always puts me in a really good mood, as I regularly say. That always makes me feel so happy. And so there's that. Also, kind of parallel to that reason, is that talking things through for me, even though I'm mostly talking to myself, I am talking as I'm recording this. If you've listened to any of my shows in the past, I talk to my air conditioner while I record, because that's what's in front of my face. So I have a conversation with my air conditioner, but I'm not really, because I'm having a conversation with you, the listener, in my imagination. So, but there have been studies to suggest that people who talk things through out loud actually have better problem-solving skills than people who don't. So, something to consider. You might seem a little crazy if you're sitting there, doing your budget in Starbucks. I don't know why you'd be budgeting in Starbucks, but whatever. But if you talk out loud while you're doing it, maybe not at the top of your lungs, but, out loud, kind of under your breath, it will actually help your brain to problem solve and think more logically. So I'm doing this therapeutically just as much as I'm doing this informationally. So if you've listened to, particularly, I think it was the 2nd episode I posted, regarding my current situation, my son has been living with my parents for the past couple of months because of CPS involvement. Well, CPS petitioned the court to force me to work what is called family-based safety services, which is like another branch of Child Protective Services. So it's like the Department of Family and Protective Services, and so like you have the investigative part that is technically CPS, and then you have sort of the maintenance part, which is FBSS. Now, back in November, when the investigative caseworker came to my house and saw that it was clean and that I was making efforts, and also told me, you can't have your kid back, she point blank asked me, would you be willing to work FBSS? And I said, yes, absolutely, I will work FBSS. And she said, okay. I got subpoenaed last week, and unfortunately didn't get an opportunity to look through the paperwork that came with that subpoena until yesterday. I sat down with my counselor at the state blind services office. I sat down with her and showed her this paperwork, and she read a lot of it to me. But apparently, the petition that they put forth in the court, this is documented, legally documented. It says that I refused services, and I'm sitting there going, I didn't refuse services. I volunteered to work services. As it stands right now, half the things they want me to do, I'm already doing. So, like they want me to get a psychological evaluation, and I'm sitting there going, I know what's wrong with me, I know how to fix it, but yes, I will go see a psychiatrist. And so I have an appointment set up for the earliest date that I could possibly get, which isn't until June, but that's beside the point. So I have that set up, and they want me to go into counseling. I'm in counseling. They want me to get on medication. I'm on medications. So I'm just sitting here going, this is a total waste of time. You're petitioning the court to force me to work something that I have already voluntarily agreed to work. And, and there was a lot that really bothered me about this petition that they put forth and this is legal documentation. I don't know how public the record is, but this is legal documentation basically saying that I'm a crappy parent. And that I sent my son to go live with my parents, and then I just never contacted him again. And I'm sitting here going, this is not the case. So, anyway, so we had the hearing or whatever today, and it was such a fucking waste of time, and I'm trying so hard not to cuss on this show. I try so hard not to cuss in general. But this was a waste of fucking time. This was a waste of taxpayer money. I cannot think of something just more frivolous and idiotic than what happened today. And I'm sure somebody will take up that challenge and tweet me or send me a message on Instagram or something and say, no, you're wrong, Rebecca Thistle. You are wrong because the government pays for kangaroos to have in vitro fertilization. I don't know if that's true, but that would be really, really, really weird. But somebody will take up that challenge. I'm sure. But this was ridiculous because all it was I went down to this courthouse. First of all, it took us forever to figure out where we were supposed to be. Because it says on the subpoena, it says you have to go to this district court. I'm like, okay. So we go there. Nobody's there. So we go, okay, well, maybe it's got to be on this floor. So we go to the other floor. Nobody's there. So we go back down to the ground floor and say, where are we supposed to be? They said, you're supposed to be on the second floor. We get to the second floor. Anyways, once we find it, and the attorney with the Department of Family and Protective Services, this attorney comes out and says, this is what we're going to say in the courtroom. And she says, do you agree to work this service, this service, this service? And she lists all the things that are going to be expected of me. And I was like, yeah, I agreed to that in fucking November. I mean, I didn't say that verbatim, but I was thinking it. And she's like, okay. So, she says, all right, we're going to go in there and say that we've reached agreement. And so I signed my life away, basically. And went in, and this attorney says, this is what we've agreed to. Here's your copy of it. And the judge is like, all right, when do we do a follow-up hearing? And it said 60 days. And I was like, okay, 60 days. All right. And I tried to tell the judge, like, look, I voluntarily did this. I don't understand why we're here. And I didn't get a chance to say anything, to set the record straight about anything in this complaint. And I'm trying to explain to the people from CPS and FBSS exactly what the situation is and all this stuff, and they just shut me down. They're like, we'll discuss that later. We'll worry about that later. And it was just almost like, oh my gosh, it was so degrading. But this is the Purple Positivity Podcast, so I have just told you how much of a shit show this day was. This legal court tax-funded farce. So I just told you all about that. Here's where practical positivity comes in. After this nonsense happened and I'm getting my stuff together, my new caseworker with the FBSS, Family-Based Safety Services side of the department, she comes up to me. She says, hi, my name is Sherry. I'll be your new caseworker. Here's my card. And I said to her, can you send me a text message? Because you're basically waving at Stevie Wonder right now. Which, I mean, I get it, knee-jerk reaction, but, come on, think it through. And she's like, oh no, it's all good. Pulled her phone out right there, said Rebecca, and put all my information in, verified my phone number, and said, all right, sending you a text message. Just to let you know, hey, I'm Sherry, I'm your caseworker, and then you can save my number from there. And I was like, perfect. And I gave her some paperwork that I had to because when you're working with CPS in general, it's I think it's un-American, because with CPS you are guilty until you can prove on paper that you are innocent. So I got together all this information, notes from my doctors, notes from my counselor, medical records from when I took my son to the ER back in October, only for the ER to say there's nothing wrong with him, why are you here? I had all this documentation that I was ready to put forth in front of the court and say, look, I'm willing to work the services, but let's set the record straight on this. But I didn't get the chance to do that. So I handed all that paperwork to her. I said, here, I have documentation that I'm not a terrible parent. I'm a terrible housekeeper, but I'm not a terrible parent. And she said, I will take this documentation, I will make copies, and when we meet next week, I will give you your originals for your records, but I don't think you're a bad parent. I don't. I'm not here to judge. I think you've made some mistakes. I think that you are working to fix those mistakes, and I want to help you. And I could have cried with joy at the way that this woman talked to me like a human being. Not like a criminal. Not like an angry person that you can just dismiss. But like a